Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. It is October 27th, 2024. I'm just a professor trying to provide context for you in the war in Ukraine. So there are 1,440 Russian soldiers off the battlefield overnight, and that means 689,000 and change. So we look at the official numbers, that's what we see. 4 tanks off the battlefield, 23 fighting vehicles, 39 artillery systems, 100 vehicles and fuel tanks. So it's pretty hot on the battlefield, and the Ukrainians are getting pushed for those numbers. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment here. Let's look at this. We have 700,000. That's the next big number because right now we're at 689,000. When will we get to 700,000 Russian casualties? 700,000 minus 689 is 10,960. If we divide by, so it's 1440, the average has been about 1271 last month, and it's much higher now, so let's just use 1,300 as our dividing number. 8 days, 8.4 days. So essentially, by election day, they'll be to about election day in the United States, which is November 5th. They'll be to about 700,000 Russian casualties. That's just, it's mind-blowing to me. Okay. Out of 80 Shahed drones, 73 were taken down by mobile air defense and electronic warfare. Some things are still getting through. Russian attacks kill at least 2 civilians as Ukraine downs 41 drones regularly, and then the balance are by electronic warfare means. Multiple regions came under Russian attack using drones, artillery, other weapons. Casualties reported in Sumy, Donetsk, and elsewhere. And it's just, the hits just keep coming. Over 1,100 guided bombs, 560 attack drones, around 20 missiles used by Russia against Ukraine just this week. So that's what's happened. Okay. Switching gears a little bit, a helicopter went down. It's not that the Ukrainian army hit it or anything, it just went down. Source associated with Russian military aviation reports that a Russian helicopter crashed in the Kerch Strait area. And initially, the sources were confused whether it was a Ka-52 or Ka-27. Turns out that it was likely a Mi-28. So that's what happened there. This was yesterday. Okay, Russia captures Lavadny in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, advances in 3 Ukrainian oblasts. The Deep State Analytical Project reports that Russian advances near 7 Ukrainian settlements in Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia Oblast. I wish I had better news to report than this, but the Russians are advancing. They're taking tremendous casualties to do that, but they are advancing. Russians are also shooting the civilian population in Selidovo. A military source said after the flight by drones, you could see the corpses of civilians' clothes were seen on the streets. Pilots noted that there are many such corpses in the city. So this is just bad. I mean, these are war crimes. This is what it is, and the world's just not doing anything about it. Russians exert pressure and advance near Pokrovsk, Vuhledar, and Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces have broken through Ukrainian positions in multiple locations near Pokrovsk and Vuhledar, securing several key settlements. This is according to the ISW. And then here, Russian forces have raised their flag in the center of Bohoyavlenka, north of Vuhledar. Now, this is really interesting here too. It's right, so here's Vuhledar. And if you scroll in, you can see the name of the city here. But if you scroll back out, you see that this is just below Pokrovsk, which is right here. Okay, so, and that's where their main focus is. Okay, Andrew Perpetua is hot about this. Russians have effectively broken through the line of defensive that was behind Vuhledar by getting into the middle of Bohoyavlenka. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm really trying. This defense line, I was hoping could last at least 2 to 3 months, but it was lost in one. Well, now it was lost in one because of 2 factors, and he's going to name the second in just a moment. But the first is they're putting tremendous pressure right now. You can see it in the casualty statistics, largely due to extremely heavy bombing and horribly insufficient preparation by Ukraine. Now, he says, in essence, Ukraine spent 2 years defending their forward positions to buy time and use that time to do nothing to prepare the next line of defense. And again, they've been fairly busy, but they should have been preparing. There's really no excuse Ukraine has for this failure. You have to point the finger at Zelensky. He's personally responsible for this. It was his job to defend Ukraine. You cannot blame Western partners for failing to make the most basic defenses in your most critical areas. Okay, I wouldn't be so hard on Zelensky. I would say this is kind of a function of the head of the military. I know, like, he's totally in charge, but I would look to Sersky and others who would be in charge of the military. Zelensky's got a lot on his plate. Zelensky knew the problems were here. They were publicly known. He should have. It was his duty as commander to go to these places and see the issues and understand them and do everything in his power to correct them, but he didn't. In the past, I've said it's Zelensky's job to be president, not to be a diplomat. Well, yeah, but there's more. And I've got a lot of pushback from people saying, no, being a diplomat is the most valuable thing he has to do. Now you see, now do you see what happens when the president refuses to do his job? Well, it's not refusing to do his job. There's more to this than that, but I get why he's hot. If you want to take some personal lesson from this war, let it be do your job, not the job you want to do your job. You have a job to do it. That's all everyone has to do. If everyone does their job, everything works out in the end. When everyone tries to do someone else's job, everything falls apart, and this is true in every aspect of life. Okay, now I get that, but think about it like this. Zelensky is going to be far more effective at asking for things, for being the diplomat, as opposed to his chief diplomat. If his chief diplomat goes and asks for X number of weapon systems or millions or billions of dollars or whatever, he'll get so far. But the president will get far further just because he's the president. Works the same way at a university. The chief fundraiser can ask, that's one thing. But if the president of the university asks, something totally different. So I'm not so hard on Zelensky, but there was perhaps a failure here, and it should have been shorn up, certainly. But the Russians are pushing everything that they have into this. And so that's my view of this. Tell me what you think. Okay, the Russians also launched an attack in the Kursk region. Ukrainian paratroopers destroyed and captured them. Mercenaries from the Akhmat special forces were preparing to seize Ukrainian positions and even filmed the video. 2 Russian soldiers surrendered. Okay, so the Akhmat filmed the video. They were apparently nowhere to be seen. This is fascinating. Yesterday I was talking about this little bit where Aludinov was talking about how Russian troops have committed 187 war crimes in the Kursk, like murders and other things along those lines. And he said when he first got there, he asked the head of the police, has Akhmat done any of this? No, it was only Russian soldiers. Well, this is fascinating. Aludinov stopped coming to the Kursk region. The head of Akhmat has not been coming to the border area since the beginning of September, since now is not the best time for filming, unquote, said Viktor Koslarev, the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs for the Kursk region. The security official also stated that he does not know where the Chechen got the information about 187 crimes committed by soldiers of the Russian armed forces. So there's that. Again, he's really good at doing the TikTok videos, not so much at fighting or showing up. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian drone blew up a semi-trailer in the Volgograd region, and Igor Shishku says makes you wonder what was being transported, probably munitions. We don't know anything more about that. Okay, Anton Gerashenko reports a Washington Post story that Russia might be renovating a Soviet-era laboratory designed to research and handle deadly pathogens. Again, this is a Washington Post story. While Russia accused Ukraine numerous times of building biolabs, they have been doing it themselves, of course, because that's what the Russians do. They point the finger at Ukraine for whatever they're doing. Satellite imagery captured signs that, when combined, indicate a high containment biological facility being restored at Sergiev Postad 6. In recent weeks, Russian officials have publicly confirmed that the scientists will use the labs in an effort to strengthen the country's defenses against bioterrorism as well as future pandemics. And here's the actual story in the Washington Post. Not making that up, that this is a Washington Post story. Okay, now this is the former president of Lithuania who said Putin will be dangerous to the whole of Europe as long as he remains in power. Putin's Russia today is a dangerous neighbor. It's not just Russia, it's Putin's Russia. Until his end, he will remain in a warlike state of mind, making him a constant threat to the European Union and its neighbors. If we in the West and NATO allow Ukraine to yield and to make this kind of compromise, it will mean the West has failed to stand up to the T state on our borders. Right, spot on, correct. Okay, just for fun, what's Kadyrov doing here? Everybody else is talking and he's doing some chair push-ups or something to be tough. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Okay, we're almost done. John Cipher says 30 months on, Biden's containment strategy is failing miserably. Like an untreated cancer, Ukraine's crisis metastasizes uncontrollably. That's a great explanation of what's happened with the war. It has metastasized, it's grown, it's gotten worse, it's more destructive by the day.